What's going on, everybody? This is X back with another Bitcoin video. And today's topic is the bottom to top cycles on Bitcoin and what we could possibly expect as far as where Bitcoin bottoms at. And what I have in front of me here is a chart of Bitcoin. And this one doesn't have the first section here. Actually, I do like this chart layout better. But in this section here, this is the section that's missing. I have it on TradingView. And this chart isn't over on investing.com. So I do have this section and I have it measured out. So basically, when we look at the very first cycle of Bitcoin, we're going to take our measure tool down here and we're going to move up and we're going to capture the wick. And it's right around 5,000,000% was the original run up on the very first cycle. Okay. And then the next one, the very first bear market in Bitcoin was about 93%. 93% down. So this section of the chart is this section. So I got 5,000,000% here and a 93% crash. It was the very first Bitcoin cycle one. And we got 2012 here. We're into cycle two, and from bottom to top, 28,000%. And you just click right here. We're going to measure up. Got the measuring tool. 28,231%. And in cycle two, when we topped out, this was $1,200, 2013. The crash came later, and we had an 86% pullback right here. 86.57%. Now we're into cycle three, bottom to top, 11,848. And these are kind of approximate when I measured them this morning, but let's try to get pretty close to this. So it actually ends up being a little bit more than 12,000 when I go top to bottom. So 12,330%. And go ahead and save that on this chart here. Because I was kind of, when I was mapping it out this morning, I didn't hit that one exactly. But that was the top to bottom. So you can see 5,000,000%, 28,000%, 12,330. And we got a 93, an 86, an 84. And what are you kind of noticing on the pattern here is with each run up, the percent gain is shrinking and the pullbacks aren't getting as bad. So we're into cycle four here. This one measured out to 1989%, so 1,989%. The pullback, 78%. Okay, and this one right here, that we topped in 2021 in November. The pullback, the very bottom of the pullback here, 2022 November. And what I did here, we're in cycle five right now. Okay, this is where we're at. So we're sitting at a price this morning of 66,985. Okay, now when we look at the run up, we only hit 780%, but it looks, I'm thinking right now, this looks like top is in, right? So our run up, that falls in line with we're not going as strong on the run up as we used to. Now the run down, the biggest difference in percent change on the run down was this one, where we had a 7-point difference on the run down. This one was only a 2-point difference percent wise. And then sitting right here, this is a 6-point difference. But there's nothing that says this has to be a 7 or a 6-point difference. But let's say we take a 7-point difference, we're sitting at 71% down. And if we were to, hit a 71% down off the top, what number would we be at? We'd be sitting right around 35,000, right? Now, the reason I have 63% marked out here is I'm going to stretch the chart a little bit so we can better see these numbers here. What I did is I went through and I marked off the top of each of these two moves here. I marked off this section here, and I marked off this section here. These are the main pivot points in our last cycle as far as tops go. This was a top, and we got rejected, came down. Came back up. This was a top, got rejected, came back down. This right here was a top, got rejected, came back down. And this is the next top. Came up, rejected, came back down. So if we mark out all these prices, these are the likely stopping points for what would be a the bear market this time around. Uh, so basically, we're coming down, and you can see we already touched our first line here. This was 62,363, and it was that line, and snapped through it, and you can see that we did respect that line. And now what we're going to be looking at here is Bitcoin as it rolls over, is it going to come right back down and hit this line? Or are we going to hold this? And I can tell you, if either of these two break, the next stop is this 45,000. And when you look at our, our previous cycles, these things kind of tend to rhyme. So in this cycle here, when we crashed, we came right here. Here's the crash, and this right here, everyone's screaming, "We're going louder or longer." But it's not. The game's over, and we come down and we settle right on top of the previous cycle's high. And then not only do we settle on that, that's where the first bounce is, we actually come down here and we dip into it even further, right? So that's precedent. We've already done that. And that's why we're doing it again. At the time when this happened, everyone was saying, no, we've never done that. Bitcoin has never, on a bear market, came down and touched the previous top. Well, now it has. And hindsight's 2020, and in hindsight, that is an attribute that can happen to Bitcoin forever now, because it already happened once. Bitcoin likes to do things that it's never done before, and I almost feel like every cycle there's one attribute added that's like, oh yeah, this time Bitcoin can do this. So um, basically for me, I'm looking at these price points: 61, 58, 46, and then a 30,000 as all possibilities. The reason I wrote out 63 is the most logical one for me is this line here, 63% down, which is about 46 to 54. And we're just going to take this top and I'm going to measure down to this third line, which is right around 63%. And that seems very logical to me because this section of the chart, we never came down and confirmed as support. We dipped close here, but we didn't actually come down and confirm as support. So to me, I was thinking, okay, there's enough time left. My thesis has been that Bitcoin is going to have this is the bear market year, and it's a whole year, and there's plenty of time to go ahead and hit down on these prices, and this would be a very painful price for people that are holding Bitcoin to get to, and that's where markets tend to go, is where it's max pain, and 63% down. This dip right here, it'd be a. I don't think it would last very long if we go into this zone. I think it's going to get bought up really quick if we do. So you're probably going to see something like this where it's a big long wick. But this is very much in play. This 45,000. Do we sit? Do we stay up here and hold these 60, this 62 to 58 range? It's possible. It's very possible, and we're just going to go sideways all the way into the next halving in 2028, sure, that's totally possible. But this is in play, whether you like it or not. That section of the chart is in play, and then not only that, 30,000's in play. Because when we get here, the question is going to be: is this going to hold? Is this going to hold? Um, now that's these are the most bearish scenarios. Now let's take a look at the possibility of a bullish scenario. And here's one thing I do want to point out in the bullish scenario here is if you look at the top here, we have a red candle. This is our topping candle. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight months of red candles, of the price closing at the end of the month worse than before. And if you go look back in the charts, we have never really done anything like this on such a bearish run other than here. Here we had 6 straight candles of red months. So if we put another red candle up here, then that would tie us for the most bearish 6 month run Bitcoin has ever had. Even in this previous run, we only had 3 red months in a row before we got a green month. Then two more reds, a green, two more reds. 3 red months in a row, two greens. So as far as being oversold, and really that kind of takes me to my next point is I have these available, and basically this RSI, relative strength index. You can see that every single cycle we go a little bit lower in RSI than the previous cycle, right? You got 3 lines, so marked out here, and this one right here. Better get it right on it. So first cycle, or this cycle here, we got lower in RSI. This cycle here, we came down a little bit lower in RSI. This cycle here, we came down a little bit lower in RSI. So I'm thinking that we're probably going to be looking at something like hitting an RSI reading down here right around 40. And we're pretty dang close. We're at 43, so a little bit more of a sell-off is as far as RSI goes. That would keep us in line with, yeah, the RSI gets a little bit more sold off with each cycle. Now down here to the stochastics is, this is a momentum indicator. So when we're coming down in the momentum, and I'm going to try to line this section up with price. You can see when we dip down in here to the under the 20 mark on the stochastics, this is kind of when it's like the worst bear market time. This is when everybody that's still holding Bitcoin is just, they're beat up, they're tired. The bull market is obviously over. It's been a rough run, but the time that we spend down here is the best time to be accumulating. And you can see that we are in this zone. You can look at the price in this section and the timing that we were in this section from here to here. When we went in and came out was 274 days on the stochastics. Okay, well, let's look at this cycle 3 here. We came into the stochastics right here, and we left 182 days. But this zone was the best time to be buying in cycle 3. Well, that's cycle 4. Here we are. We came into the zone right here. Okay. We left the zone right here, 275 days. So, once again, this zone was the best time to be picking up Bitcoin. Okay, now let's also take a look at these stochastics, and when the stochastics actually, where the bottom actually came in at versus where the reading was. So here's the actual bottom, and you can see that we had a double bottom here. Here's one, and you can see that right around as the stochastics is heading back up, that was when the last bottom was coming back in. So we're at the start of the stochastics, which that's another point for, hey, it's possible that we're gonna go lower, right? It's the stochastics is saying it, the resistance is saying it, the RSI is saying it, that we're gonna probably go lower. It's right now there's 3 points for lower, and there's not a whole lot of points for this is the bottom, right? So we look over here in fourth cycle, and these orange lines, I like to keep these on the chart because these are the halving dates. So I put these on the chart as a way of looking at each cycle in terms of halving, of when the next halving is. And the next halving is supposed to be sometime around April 2028. So we're looking at things that rhyme here. Cycle 4, the actual bottom right here, and you can see that this section on the stochastics, we were almost completely done with the curve down by the time we actually bottomed. So I'm expecting this red line to come and curve like this, and sometime around this section of this curve, which would be sometime between August, September, October, November, is kind of when I'm expecting us to have the last and final bottom, and the sentiment's going to be so terrible right then that no one's going to be saying buy Bitcoin. Everyone's going to be calling it a scam. It's going to be everybody gave up. People aren't even checking their portfolios anymore. Um, Bitcoin is dead for the millionth time is what you're going to read in the news, and that right there is when you seeing those stories come across, when your friends that are still holding Bitcoin don't even want to talk about it, when this stochastic is crossing back up, that's the time to get bullish again. That's the time. And as far as next cycle goes, we're looking at here. Um, oh, I got the draw sign on there. As far as the next cycle goes, you're looking at the pretty much the possibility of 780. I'm trying to get this one off the chart, but you're looking at the possibility of um, us pretty much not going past 780%. 780%. Let me put that back on the chart there. And I got that little draw in there, but I'll fix that later. But basically, you're looking at the with us going up only 1989% from top to bottom, and this one was 780. Um, we went up less than half of the previous cycle's run, a little bit less than half. So what if we do only 420% this time, right? Something like that, right? Or we can just say okay, 400% bottom to top. Well, if the bottom is at 45 here, when we get down to the stochastics, we have our cross. What's 400% look like on the next cycle? And we are sitting right about here. 400% would be a Bitcoin worth $232,000, right? Now, does Bitcoin always have to go lower with each top? No, no, it doesn't. This is a pattern until it's not. Does Bitcoin always have to have less of a bear market? No, but this is a pattern until it's not. And right now, this pattern and this pattern, they're what rhymes. They're what we've done every cycle. So, the long and the short of it is you got to kind of know the season you're in. And I'm gonna go back over to this is a chart here that I got the I on TradingView. The reason I go back and forth between TradingView and investing.com is investing.com. I can make as many charts as I want. It's a free site and I can save them. And I think that's pretty dang cool. TradingView, they want a monthly subscription. I mean, when I got to choose between free and monthly subscription, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the free one. And the only reason I come back over this is TradingView has one chart that comes all the way back to 2009, and I can't get this chart over there. So I have my one chart I use on TradingView over here, but I do most of my charting over on investing.com. But this one, as I'm scrolling out, I kind of shared this chart on the last one, and it's the start of the when Bitcoin came to market. This is the come to market day. This is the first halving, and the oranges are the halvings all the way. And basically, what this chart shows is that the top always on every cycle has come in between green and black. Every single one. The bottom is usually right around this blue bar. So in this cycle, these are equal time zones, and they're just each one is we take the amount of time between cycles, 1,062 days, we divide by 8 and make equal zones. It looks like they're a little off here because when I originally plotted this, I plotted it by day. And if there's an odd number of months, it has to shift one over to the other. But when I shrink it down to days and weeks, they're all equal time zones. So, but I'm on the monthly, and we're in the second cycle. Sure enough, look at the top, green to black. Where'd the bottom come in? Right around the blue line. All right. Third cycle, where's the top? Green to black. Oh, right here. Where's the bottom? Right around the blue again. Fourth cycle, where's the top? Green to black. Where's the bottom? Right around the blue again. Fifth cycle, well, where'd the top go? I'll delete this yellow line because that was my target for when I was selling on this last cycle. As I told myself, the last 3 cycles, right around this red line was actually right about where you want to cut loose. So I started selling 3 months prior to that red line. But where's the blue? The blue bar is October of 2026 this year. Uh, this black line, we've never had a top after it, ever, on any Bitcoin runs. So it is looking like that if we don't top by April of next month, push up higher, then this is definitely over, and we are going to be coming into this blue line. And this right here, this blue to purple line, has been the best time in all cycles to be accumulating Bitcoin. Blue to purple, blue to purple, and blue to purple this year. This is when I'm targeting for some dollar cost averaging for me. That's what I got going. That's what I'm thinking about going on. And guys, put this out there too. Is I'm not. Full disclosure. I'm not a financial advisor. I am a guy that reads charts on the internet, but I do a pretty good job with it. And I like to point out stuff out there that a lot of people don't see. But the amount of time between cycles, we were starting to average right around 1400 and 40 to 50 days is kind of where we're meeting these cycles. I got the days in here. Cycle 2 was 1318, cycle 3 1402, cycle 4 1439, cycle 5 1452, and I got the date plotted on here. So eventually, I am going to continue on building out this chart because after this orange line, I got to lay down more bars. But I just got to get the time to come in and do the math on that. But for right now, this is my next thing I'm looking at is 2028 next halving. I'm looking at a bottom coming in sometime in the next 6 months. And from there, it's wash, rinse, repeat, right? Until Bitcoin doesn't wash, rinse, repeat. But until it does, I'm going to keep playing each cycle. So, with that being said, I wanted to show these two charts. They're two of my favorite that really kind of show what's going on with Bitcoin. And you know, are we going to come down here? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for us to come down here and choose one of these spots to stop. I'm looking for us to have the stochastics cross and come out, and that's going to tell me that I think that we're ready to go ahead and have another bull market. I'm looking for us to come down lower on the RSI than last time. So um, these are the things in the charts that I'm seeing, and if they play out, I guess we'll see if they play out. But for right now, for me, I don't own any Bitcoin. So I like I said, I walked away, but this is something that I am always keeping an eye on. I know the season that we're in. The season that we're in is the bear market time. So for me, it's not about trying to time this market out perfectly. I just when the bear market season is about over, that's when I'm gonna come right back over here and start looking at picking up more Bitcoin, and I'm gonna play that next cycle. But anyway, that's just me. That's what my plan is. Is it gonna be? Is it 100% that this is all gonna work out the way I think? Who knows? Maybe not. Probably not. But uh, the reason I go with the TA is I just try to use technical analysis to gain me an advantage as far as probability goes. But with price and markets, anything can happen. So, it's about proper risk management and all that. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. I hope you like what I showed you here. And until next time, this is XTace. Once again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a crazy guy on the internet that loves charts. But anyway, until next time, it's XTace, and have a good one.